The subjects of the most explosive lawsuit ever filed by reality TV star Doug Christie, his own spouse, and a teammate. Doug did not cry when that DNA surprise revealed that Jackie's daughter's biological father is Chris Webber. He did not plead. He hired an attorney, and as a result, Chris Webber and Jackie Christie are now formally being sued for identity theft, paternity fraud, emotional anguish, and damages exceeding $4.6 million. Betrayal is not the only issue here. This has to do with contracts, paperwork, unpaid child support, and the legacy they attempted to pilfer. Jackie's reputation is failing. The support for Chris is waning. What about Chantel? She finds herself torn between two last names, a courtroom, and an unending deception. Doug did not say anything for 20 years. He is coming for the justice system and everything now. This is not only repayment, thus it is open to interpretation. This is Jackie Christie's empire's official reckoning. To be betrayed is one thing. Discovering that the girl you reared for 2 decades was never yours is another. But to have your wife lie to you, be publicly humiliated, and have your own colleague make fun of you in private? Doug Christie had no intention of leaving. What would happen if you were sued by the man you deceived for every dollar, falsehood, and year you took from him? The subjects of the most explosive lawsuit ever filed by reality TV star Doug Christie, his own spouse, and a teammate. Doug did not cry when that DNA surprise revealed that Jackie's daughter's biological father is Chris Webber. He did not plead. He hired an attorney, and as a result, Chris Webber and Jackie Christie are now formally being sued for identity theft, paternity fraud, emotional anguish, and damages exceeding $4.6 million. Betrayal is not the only issue here. This has to do with contracts, paperwork, unpaid child support, and the legacy they attempted to pilfer. Jackie's reputation is failing. The support for Chris is waning. What about Chantel? She finds herself torn between two last names, a courtroom, and an unending deception. Doug did not say anything for 20 years. He is coming for the justice system and everything now. This is not only repayment, thus it is open to interpretation. This is Jackie Christie's empire's official reckoning. To be betrayed is one thing. Discovering that the girl you reared for 2 decades was never yours is another. But to have your wife lie to you, be publicly humiliated, and have your own colleague make fun of you in private? Doug Christie had no intention of leaving. But there is more, boss. Hold on. Doug has more in mind than just making money. He is calling for the birth certificate to be fully corrected publicly. He wants Chris Webber to be officially identified as the biological father on all upcoming public records, not just in private ones. This has nothing to do with pettiness. This has to do with long-term repair. Jackie, too, she is going downhill. According to sources, she sobbed for 2 hours straight in her foyer after receiving the complaint. Do not get it wrong, though. This is not an innocent woman's emotional collapse. This is a scammer's terror after being legally trapped. What about Chris Webber? Silent. No reaction from the public. Nothing to say. Only reports that he abruptly changed his legal counsel and fired his PR. However, because Doug's crew is not just there to make headlines, let us discuss the court approach. Their goal is to set a precedent. The media was informed by his lead lawyer, a well-known litigation shark from Beverly Hills. Mr. Christie is hardly the only issue here. Any father who has ever reared a child while lying is the subject of this. Paternity fraud will be recognized as a grave civil infraction with legal repercussions. Translation: they are not merely eliminating Jackie, they are creating a legal model for all American fathers who will be deceived in the future. This case has the potential to alter laws, boss. Since money is where things turn violent, let us talk about it now. Doug's attorneys provided a damages timeline: tuition for private schools. The whole amount is $180,000. Donations from college, a total of $95,000. Health insurance, the whole amount was $72,000. Vacations, $23,000. Beau's Sweet 16 party, wow, $75,000. Other costs, gifts, cars, clothing, $150,000. False paternity stories have harmed Doug's reputation. $500,000 value of emotional distress. $8 million. Jackie's VH1 earnings and endorsements obtained through deception. $5 million, plus an additional $4.5 million, and still growing. Chris Webber's share, which Doug is requesting be divided equally between the two co-defendants, is not included in that. This implies that Chris and Jackie might be liable for more than $2 million apiece. This is when things become even more messy. After requesting preliminary subpoenas for Jackie's bank documents, Doug's legal team discovered what they were looking for: shell accounts, payments that are hidden, costs for consulting with non-existent reality TV firms. Jackie, an insider, claims that a broadcast trial is possible and that the court may suggest a criminal review of the falsified birth certificate. This is no longer only a scandal. A reality-built empire is slowly collapsing. If you believe that the situation surrounding Jackie Christie could not get any worse, just wait till you hear what she did next. Jackie was backstage doing what she does best, which is planning, while Doug's legal team was putting together a clean, well-planned takedown in court. According to people familiar with the matter, Jackie tried to speak with Chantel secretly during the early deposition scheduling process, reportedly to purchase her silence, rather than to apologize or provide an explanation. Yes, you read correctly. A lady is accused of attempting to bribe her daughter to avoid testifying in court after she spent 20 years concealing the truth about her daughter's father. 2 days after Doug's legal team requested that Chantel be notified as a witness, this is what allegedly transpired. A sealed envelope containing $15,000 in cash was purportedly handed to Chantel's residence by Jackie's assistant. "You do not have to get pulled into this," is written in a handwritten note. "Leave it to your folks. I will look after you." As I always have, simply said, "Boss, that is witness tampering," and Chantel refused to comply. She took a picture of the envelope, saved the note, and gave it all directly to Doug's lawyer. Jackie received a cease and desist order within hours, and the court was informed. Jackie's answer? She appeared shaken as she went live on Instagram at 2 a.m, talking about loyalty and people switching sides before cutting off the feed in the middle of her statement. She was enthralled by the comments. "You tried to buy the silence of your own daughter, girl? This is not Basketball Wives, Jackie. This court is for criminal cases. When everyone is looking, are you tampering with a witness? You are deserving of every setback." Jackie suddenly went from being outrageous to being criminally careless. However, it is not the only move that is being revealed. Because of the leaks and the official start of depositions, they are crazy, boss. Transcripts of Doug's official statement made under oath have now been partially made public. This is an actual quote that garnered media attention. "I defended Jackie's reputation for 20 years. I now see that I was protecting the untruth rather than the woman." Dropped mic, Doug continued to speak about the psychological toll, acknowledging that he felt uneasy at times, but chose to ignore it. "I cherished my family. I believed I was acting appropriately. However, love does not justify dishonesty." Then it was Jackie's time. Her evidence, a catastrophe. She stammered through inquiries, retracted her earlier claims, and said she never intended to upset Doug, but she acknowledged that she had suspected the child was not his from the beginning. This is how one important exchange went. Attorney: "On Chantel's birth certificate, did you intentionally name Mr. Christie as her biological father?" Jackie: "He was not on my list. When the nurse inquired, I just said his name." Attorney: "So without a test, you verbally verified paternity?" Jackie: "It was emotional. Yes, I was stressed. The court will not accept sentimental justifications for deception, boss." Chris Webber arrived just as things were about to get out of control. He entered the deposition room slowly, like a guy on his way to be put to death, with no lawyers or entourage, and everything changed when he said that. "I was aware that it was possible." Jackie said that she was not certain. "To keep her and Doug safe, I kept quiet. Yet keeping quiet can be just as harmful." Admission under oath. Boom. Just that remark made him liable for both financial fraud and emotional harm. Doug's lawyer did not spend any time. "To be clear, you intentionally allowed another man to raise your daughter for 20 years without telling him?" Chris hesitated. "Yes, and for the rest of my life, I will regret it. Too late, too little." Since the court now had all it required, both Jackie and Chris are closely linked to a bribe attempt, a silent conspiracy, a verified DNA match, a fabricated identity, and public harm. Doug, meantime, was working quietly but steadily behind the scenes. Through his legal representative, he made one public remark: "Retaliation is not the point here. It has to do with responsibility. A lie I never asked to bear changed my life, and those responsible for creating that untruth will be held accountable." And it went viral on the internet. The hashtag Justice for Doug began to gain popularity. Laws against hashtag paternity fraud are becoming more popular in advocacy circles. Verified accounts were posted as well. Calm vengeance is personified by Doug Christie. You regain your power in this way. Jackie's brand, meanwhile, was in ruins. She was fired by her real estate company. She co-hosted a podcast that was canceled. For violating moral standards, even her reality TV syndication rights were suspended. She is suffering emotionally, financially, and professionally, boss. And Chris's private breakdown. A text message purportedly sent by Weber to his staff was leaked by one individual. unbearable. This is getting out of control. Court was not what I had anticipated. All I wanted was for it to remain buried. Buried? This scandal has made headlines around the world, boss. It was even picked up by international gossip sites. What about Chantel? She is taking charge of her own destiny. Citing mental injury and the need to rebuild her identity, she formally submitted procedures to change her legal last name. This is not simply about who my father is, Chantel explains in an exclusive interview excerpt that was released by a publishing company. It is not about a script my mother wrote. It is about the truth and being free to live in reality. Then she revealed the title of her next novel, which is based on lies. My life as a daughter of someone else. Jackie's reputation might be irrevocably damaged by that book alone, boss. But now that we know what comes next, we turn our attention back to the courtroom. Jackie can be charged with a crime for attempting to bribe someone. In the event that Doug's team splits claims, Chris Webber is getting ready for a second civil case. Doug has not only requested damage compensation, but also formal reimbursement orders. A motion to televise the entire trial is also being considered by the judge. Yes, you heard correctly. The public may soon see this trial, which pits Jackie against Doug, Chris, and the Crosshairs. All of it. Cross-examinations, breakdowns, and testimony. What about VH1? They are keeping a close eye on everything while determining whether to completely revamp their brand and break with the NBA wives' heritage. Doug, meantime, has remained calm, collected, and methodical. He has reportedly turned down proposals to make the issue into a docuseries and every other reality TV pitch that has been made to him. Why? I did not ask for the limelight, but now that I have it, I will use it to reveal the truth rather than to amuse, as he allegedly informed his crew. That is power, boss. Class is that. Even after losing everything, that man left with honor. Jackie is surrounded by her own daughter, the media, and the court. The verdict is now all that remains. The courtroom was full. The walls were lined with reporters. Outside, cameras stood by, desperate to see the downfall of two once iconic figures, Chris Webber and Jackie Christie. Even reality TV producers and former NBA teammates sneaked in through the side doors. It was not only court, though. It took 20 years to bring about this closure. In the middle of it all, Doug Christie sat quietly, intently, and unflappable. Opening remarks kicked off the trial, and Doug's lawyer made a strong impression. The two persons Mr. Christie trusted the most were the ones who manipulated, misled, and robbed him, as the court will find. It is not only DNA here. Identity theft, emotional abuse, and the weaponization of allegiance are all at issue here. Jackie's attorney attempted to portray her as a young mother in confusion who erred during a period of emotional turmoil. However, since the invoices were already on the table, nobody in that room was buying the sob story. The voicemail to Chris, the journal entry, the bribe envelope, the phony birth certificate, and the DNA testing. Day 2 then arrived when Jackie walked the stage, clad in all black and exuding a false sense of humility in every move. Jackie made an effort to remain composed. She was calm at first. I cherished Doug. I still do. I simply had no idea how to be honest with him without ruining things. However, when examined closely, the mask quickly broke. Did you intentionally give Mr. Christie the impression that Chantel was his child for more than 2 decades, attorney? Yes, Jackie, but no more background is required, lawyer. Simply say yes or no. Did that notion help you financially, Jackie? Yes. The courtroom was packed with whispers. The lawyer then let go of the hammer. Do you think your public image, book deals, TV contracts, and brand would have been the same without that lie, attorney? Jackie blinked. The audience had to be quieted, even by the judge. The decision? Unanimous. Jackie Christie was forced to pay $2.9 million in damages after being found guilty of paternity fraud, financial misrepresentation, emotional manipulation, and civil deception. In addition to being forced to pay Doug $1.7 million in reparations and provide a formal public acknowledgement of paternity, Chris Webber was found jointly guilty for willful concealing of paternity and mental harm caused by extended silence. What about Doug, declared the legitimate victim of a 2-decade fraud plot, cleared and redeemed? Jackie was surrounded by paparazzi as she left the courtroom, but she remained silent. Her group released a terse statement. We are weighing our alternatives and respectfully disagree with the decision. Just shame and silence, with no accountability or apology. In contrast, Chris Webber made a public statement that evening. I erred. I remained quiet for too long. One day, I hope Doug will pardon me. Above all, I want Chantel to understand how honored I am to be her father. Too late, too little. The last twist, though, Chantel's decision. She took the microphone with Doug at her side at a press conference outside the courthouse. Here's what my heart says, but the judges tell us what the law says. The only father I have ever known is Doug Christie. I will always have that name in my heart. Doug is my family, even though Chris is my biological link. She then gave Doug a hug in front of all the cameras and media. Jackie was by herself, watching from a distance. The lady who used deceit to build her empire simply lost everything. Her legacy, her brand, her public persona, her spouse, and her daughter are all gone. What about Doug? He refrained from boasting. He was not mocking. He had a new objective and a high head as he left the courtroom. Later, he revealed that he is working with a nationwide group to combat paternity fraud, assisting fathers across who have fallen victim to deception similar to his own. My story is no longer the only one. This is a tale of thousands, and until they all have a voice, I will not give up. That is how a scandal ends, boss. With purpose, not with noise. Who actually gets away with it now that the falsehoods are over? For 20 years, Jackie Christie pretended, performed, and made money off of a fraudulent family. Weber Chris? He smiled while allowing another man to raise his child, and now he is asking for forgiveness? What about Doug? They fed him betrayal, veiled in quiet, after he gave them everything. We would like to know the following. For this, should Jackie be taken into custody? For this was more than just emotional harm. This was a full-fledged profit-driven scam. Should Chris Weber be disqualified from all future NBA awards? Because participation, not protection, is what quiet is. What about Chantel? Did she go with her soul intact, or did anyone else? In the comments, you tell us now.